People come to Inclusion Solutions for a range of different reasons. Sometimes it's that they've identified that their clubs or community groups require some support or training. At other times it's because they've got high rates of antisocial behaviour or youth crime. It's also around engagement of low participation groups, which might include people with disability, it might include older adults in communities and a range of other people. So that's typically why people would come to Inclusion Solutions.
A lot of the work we do is really around not only how to engage different marginalised groups, but also how best to understand them. So like anything, there's always a huge aspect of fear around things that we don't know and people that we don't know a lot about. And it's really about breaking down those barriers and allowing people to understand that that's exactly what they just are people.
Denver and the team are fantastic, really dedicated and passionate group of people that are committed to ensuring that there's opportunities for people regardless of where they come from, what their background is, where they might live. Yeah, I think one of the best things that's come out of our partnership with Inclusion Solutions is the way not only our staff but our volunteers and clubs approach the concept of inclusion. It can seem quite foreign to people when they first delve into it, but really at its heart it's about ensuring that people are connected to each other and that people feel part of something bigger, part of a community.
I think for me the biggest drive is around finding connections for people and hearing the little changes that it makes in people's lives, and how for us it might be something insignificant but it's life-changing for a person.
To gain some knowledge and some expertise in what to do, an organisation like Inclusion Solutions is perfect. They're going to provide you with the training that you require to overcome any barriers that you may see and help you with recruitment and how to entice people to your club.
I'm interested in volunteering, and I have in the past, but I'm not sure what I really want to do, so this gives me an opportunity to find out what organisations are out there, what jobs are out there, and to link my skills and interests into what they need.
Long-term solutions is what we pride ourselves on, and it's actually one of our checks and balances is that we want to leave every community better off after our involvement as opposed to just for the time that we're there. So it's all about building capacity and really emphasising sustainability.
Nala Kadich, Wajak Mort, Kayan Karak Nijabuja. I'd like to acknowledge the local Wajak people, the traditional custodians on the land on which we meet. And what a beautiful spot it is, the banks of Lake Munga. A little bit of history about Lake Munga. It consists of 70 hectares of mainly open shallow water with an island consisting of 1.3 hectares in the middle. Lake Munga was typically used as a camping and hunting site as a result of the abundance of black swans, wildfowl, turtles, frogs and mudfish, all hunted for food. Associated with the lake is the Woggle, part of Noongar mythology. The myth describes the track that the serpent being took, whose journey towards the ocean deviated and emerged from the ground on which we meet today, the banks of Lake Munga. I, on behalf of Inclusion Solutions, would like to pay my tribute to elders and leaders of the Wajak community, past, present and emerging. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Denver de Cruz, and I'm not only honoured to be part of the team at Inclusion Solutions, but also to be your MC today. While we're all special guests here today, it's also important for us to acknowledge that we have a number of political and community leaders in our presence. This is of particular importance in this day and age, where communities are more segregated than ever before. We live in a time where research highlights the fact that we have less friends than ever before and fewer trusted relationships than ever before. So it is for those reasons that it's particularly important that we have several levels of government in the room. We have leaders and CEOs of many community sector organisations, and we have people from right across Australia. I'd like to acknowledge just a couple of those to give you some examples. Representatives from Minister Templeman's office, the MLA of Mirrabooka, Ms Janine Freeman, Celia Hammond, federal member for Curtin, and also, and probably the person that's travelled the furthest to be here, Fiona Gavigan from the ACT. So Fiona in the black top here, I think that deserves a round of applause to start us off. Precisely 3,722 kilometres to travel to be here. A couple of housekeeping things. Mobile phones, just might take this opportunity to remind you to either turn them off or to put them on silent if you wouldn't mind. Bathrooms are adjacent to this wall, just on the other side. Alternatively, if you go through the building, there are some on the other side as well. Emergency plan in the unlikely case of emergency. We have our team stationed right around the room, and we'll ask you guys to make your way across the car park over to the grasslands as well. I'll just remind you that it is a smoke-free venue as well. And a little bit of housekeeping as well in terms of social media posts. If you can tag Inclusion Solutions WA on Facebook, that would be great. We have Emma Bruse. Emma, with your hand up, there you are at the back. So Emma will be floating around with her camera. So Emma's a wonderful volunteer photographer who comes along, oops, I apologise, who comes along and covers these forums for us, so thank you, Emma. And we also have G and Trae as well from Marcello Productions as well, videotaping this. So this will be an ongoing resource for all communities as well. So a little bit about today, we're going to have an acknowledgement of country from Kobe Morrison, followed by a short speech from Georgie Nicholas from Beyond Bank, our partners for today. Christy Jolly, an inclusion consultant, will talk about the theme of today's event, and the theme today is opportunity. We're going to have 4 special guest presenters, starting with Katrina Porter, OAM. Katrina will be followed by John Armstrong, Margie Oldfield, and Dr. Anne Ali. Following the presentations, we'd love for you guys to hang around and have a beer, a wine, or a coffee with us as well. And I'd like to start us off by welcoming Kobe Morrison. So Kobe's a 25-year-old Bibbulmun Noongar who was born and raised in Perth. While he studies an English major at UWA, Kobe spends his spare time playing music and being involved with various musical projects. These are projects that have earned him the 2018 Perth NAIDOC Youth of the Year Award. Please join me in welcoming Kobe Morrison.
Kaya Nyan Kobe. Kaya Kwabish Quarter. Nyan Jeb Jet Nijan Yalang. Nunuk Kwap Kerala Wer Kerlak. Windang Bujarak. Wanju Wajak Nyunga Buja. Yalang Mila Bidi Kwabadak. Hello, my name is Kobe. I want to teach you guys 2 words quickly. Most of you already know these words. 2 words is Kaya and Nyan Nyan. Can you guys repeat after me? Kaya, Nyan Nyan. Cool. I'm going to get you guys to do that one more time, but then followed by your name. Kaya, Nyan Nyan. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. Also, I want to teach you guys another 2 more words, okay? Nija and Baal. Nija means this, and Baal means person or individual. And you can utilize this one to introduce a friend. So I'll get you guys to repeat after me, and then at the end, say a friend's name. If you don't have any friends, feel free to utilize my name or anybody from the Inclusion Solutions team. All right? Nija. Baal. Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you guys. Nijabal Georgie. Yes, you're my friend. So, it's an absolute honour to be acknowledging country for Inclusion Solutions, and I must really commend Denver on your Nyunga. It's really, really good. I am so stoked. It's really exciting to be able to see so many people embrace Nyunga language and help keep it alive, respectfully. I like to keep my culture alive, my language alive, by doing one thing that I really specialise in, which is music. So I have a guitar with me, and I like to play a song. And I decided to choose a song that's familiar to you guys. This song is called Kambarang Jukanin, which is also known as Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. Here Comes the Sun was one of the first songs that was translated by Waliat Wanganing, which is Fremantle Talking. It's a group that I'm a part of that gathers every Saturday morning, and we like to keep our Nyunga language skill up by talking to each other, and then we like to translate pieces of prose or music. And we sparked this. And so I might teach you guys a couple of words from the song, but I won't teach you everything. That's a lot of Nyunga to take in. So I'm going to get you guys to repeat after me. Nyank, Jukanin. Fantastic. Nyan Warinka. Nyan Murich. Fantastic. So this is the part that I just taught you guys. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Warinka. Nyan Murich. Kurama. Yekeda la Guri Wernindi. Kurama. Ula Jera Manga Yini. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Warinka. Nyan Murich. Kurama. Bukala Workwell Malajin. Kurama. Ula Muja Yalkarani. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Warinka. Nyan Murich. Feel free to give it a go. Kambarang Jukanin. Kambarang Jukanin. Give it a go one more time. Kambarang Jukanin. Kurama. Wojenda Makawanganin. Kurama. Womuyantuka Wokulin. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Warinka. Nyan Murich. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Jukanin. Nyan Warinka. Nyan Murich. Kambarang Jukanin. Thank you. Have a lovely evening. Order.
What an absolutely wonderful way to start tonight's proceedings. So thank you so much for that, Kobe. And maybe just one more round of applause for Kobe Morrison. All right, and I'd like to start by inviting Georgie Nicholas from Beyond Bank, the Manager of Community Development, to come up and say a few words. Georgie.
Such an inspiring young man, isn't he, Kobe? Thank you. And thank you all for coming and attending today for what will certainly be a very informative and an educational forum. Feeling included, joining in and participating is what life is all about. We learn about inclusion and how good it feels as small children when we are asked to join a sporting team, go to a friend's party or act in a school play. As teenagers, being included stops us from feeling isolated and alone. And as adults, we learn to appreciate the power of inclusion and how, as a community, we achieve things much faster if we are all in it together. We realise that being included is a right, not a privilege. So what has a bank got to do with inclusion? It's a good question. Beyond Bank is a customer-owned bank, which quite simply means we're owned by our customers. We don't have shareholders. This style of ownership means our links to local communities are strong and profound, not distant or remote. Our customers include us in community activities, local non-for-profit events, sporting, fundraisers, and you name it. We get to see inclusion in action every day. When we heard about Inclusion Solutions and its excellent charter and work in local communities, it was the perfect fit for us. It's all about belonging, and we feel very honoured to partner with an organisation that puts inclusion at the heart of everything it does. I would like to now thank Denver and the team of Inclusion Solutions for what has been a fantastic series of inspirational speakers, well-organised events, and that had us leaving inspired and educated on what we need to do to include everyone in all that we do. My team and I have walked away from each of these forums talking about the people we've met and the stories we've heard, feeling even more connected to the communities that we did before. So thanks everyone, and enjoy your night. Thank you.
What I might just add to that is not only are Beyond Bank huge supporters of all things community, but through this particular partnership, I'd also like to pay tribute to Georgie and the team as well. I think you guys have displayed a genuine care and excitement for WA community, so thank you for that, Georgie. All right, I'd like to introduce you guys to the Wheat Belt's finest product, Christy Jolly. Aside from being one of the finest products to originate from the Wheat Belt, however, Christy is also an inclusion consultant at Inclusion Solutions. Christy will be discussing the key theme of today's presentation, opportunity. Please welcome Christy Jolly.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for having me a part of this forum again. I wanted to start by saying that when Amy told me that tonight's theme was going to be opportunity, I'm not going to lie when I say that the first thing that came to my head was Eminem, Lose Yourself. But I'll spare you all. I won't do a rap. We'll leave the singing to Kobe. But I've been thinking a lot about opportunity and what that means for us as individuals and how we can be given those opportunities and how that shapes us as individuals. And this came to be more so when myself and Paul travelled over to Queensland recently to be a part of the Sports Summit. And one of the keynote speakers there was Stephen Frost, who is an expert in business inclusion and making workplaces inclusive. And Stephen spoke about how diversity is a fact, but inclusion is a choice. So it's an opportunity to make that choice to be inclusive. And that really struck with me. And what he challenged me to do, and what I'm going to ask you to do now, is think about an opportunity that you were given in your life that has shaped you to be the person you are right now. So keep that in mind as I'm talking. I want you to be thinking about that. Stephen then said, I would like you to think about your 5 closest friends. So think about the 5 people you associate most of your time with. Are they similar to you? Are they similar genders? Are they similar age? Are they similar background and race? Do they share the similar values to you? Then think about your colleagues. Think about how similar they are to you. And the reason why Stephen did this is he talked about how as humans we have a need to be a part of tribes. That's what we do. We relate to people who are similar to us. And that is absolutely okay. It's human nature. But the opportunity to be inclusive, it comes when we challenge ourselves to be with people who are not like us. And the reason for that is because we all have very different life experiences. We all come from very different backgrounds and things that shape us to be who we are. And I think about the team at Inclusion Solutions and I look around at the people, the conversations that we have in our team, and it's because we're diverse. But it's because we feel like we belong to this team that we're able to put on such events like this and work so well as a team. And it's that opportunity that shapes us moving forward. Now, for those of you who came to the last workshop, the last forum, you would have known that I created a little bit of chaos with wool and connecting you all together, but don't worry, I'm not going to do that tonight. I wanted to tell you the story of my opportunity, and then I would like you to share yours as well. And I'm so glad that Danny from Queen's Rock Junior Cricket Club is in the room, because my opportunity comes from Queen's Rock Junior Cricket Club. Now, through work, I was given the opportunity to work with the Wacker, and through that opportunity, I was able to work alongside this great club, Queen's Rock. And they decided that they wanted to give opportunities for young girls to play cricket. They decided that they wanted to give the opportunity for young cricketers with a disability to play cricket. And then this year, they decided that they wanted to give women the opportunity to play cricket. And I am one of those women. So for the last 3 weeks, I've played cricket for the very first time. Now, 7 years ago, I would have told you I hated cricket. But after 3 weeks, I can tell you that this opportunity has really changed me. I'm now socialising with people I've never met before. I'm playing a sport, I'm challenging myself, I'm going down to the nets trying to practice my cover drive. And this is an opportunity that's really significant to me. And the reason for that is because this club created such an inclusive culture, I wanted to be a part of that. So how are we creating opportunities that make people want to be a part of something bigger? Now think back to that question that I asked you at the beginning of this presentation. What opportunity have you been given in your life that has shaped you to be the person you are today? What I would like you to do now is think outside those tribes. Who of you are sitting with somebody that you know? Can you raise your hand for me? All right. My challenge to you is, if you feel comfortable, I'd like you to stand and go and sit with 5 faces that you do not know. And once you're seated, I would like you to share, if you feel comfortable, what experience and opportunity has changed you.
How did you go? Was that an enjoyable experience? Lots of chatter, yeah? Excellent. I think when Christy asked me that story, I also reflected upon my own journey. I would absolutely not be standing here in WA in front of you if it wasn't for opportunity. I think when I think about my whole history, I'm absolutely a product of opportunity. I moved to Perth in 2008 to play cricket. Great to see some cricketers in the room, Dave and a few others. But also, I think for me, what opportunity has really offered me is friendships and a social network. It offers me a workplace that I genuinely feel like I'm connected to. It doesn't feel like going to work. I think the other things for me is that it really has offered me some choice and control in my life. Those 2 words are so critical to everything that we're doing today, choice and control. And I think above anything and everything else, it's really around a strong sense of belonging. But what a great conduit that is to the first of our guest speakers. So the first of our guest speakers is Katrina Porter, OAM. Katrina is going to talk a little bit about social inclusion and opportunity through sport. So following retirement from 12 years as a representative of the Australian Paralympic swimming team, Katrina has chosen to pursue her love of open water swimming. Katrina completed her first solo Rottnest swim in 2018, along with 7 other successful crossings since. Outside of the water, Katrina graduated from Edith Cowan University and Sydney University with a Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in economics and finance at the end of 2013. Since then, however, Katrina has embarked on a career as an associate for PricewaterhouseCoopers, working in staffing and deployment across Australia. Katrina has also been an active member of the North Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club since 2013, taking on numerous volunteer roles as well as representing the club at state, national, and you guessed it, World Surf Life-Saving Championships. When asked why social inclusion matters, Katrina's response was simple. Social inclusion is the fabric of my community. It keeps me connected through an equal sense of purpose and accomplishment by empowering all, regardless of ability, age, race, and any other defining factor. Please join me in welcoming Katrina Porter.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can still see me. I'm obviously not the tallest person, but if I can see you, you can see me. Thank you, Denver, very much for the introduction. Denver and I go back many, many years, and I've always wanted to be involved with these forums and come along, but the timing hasn't really risen, but we got there 2019 before 2020 hit, so we made it happen. So tonight's going to be a little bit of storytelling for you, so I hope that you guys are I hope you like stories. Apologies if you don't, you can give me some feedback afterwards. So as Christy said, the theme for tonight is all about opportunity. So my presentation is going to be a bit in two halves. So the early years, when a lot of opportunities are presented for you as a child, you kind of get brought up and things are literally handed to you, and then you kind of graduate from being a child, and then you're on your own and you've got to figure out, what are the crossroads, where am I going to go, what am I going to do? How do you then facilitate opportunities and find like-minded friends, like-minded organisations that want to have a two-way relationship, not just a take or a give, whichever. So to start off, So just to start, this is a bit of my life in pictures. It's a bit of a slideshow of pictures, apologies. The first photo on the left is my solo crossing last year, which was just one of the best days of my entire life. It was a lifelong dream as a proud West Australian to be able to do a solo crossing, and I dedicated over a year of training to get there and made sure I left no stone unturned, and it all went to process. The middle photo is probably, I should say, over Rutnest was my biggest goal in my entire life, which was winning a gold medal at the Beijing Paralympic Games in 2008. So that was certainly a life-defining moment, but also was a really, really big crossroads of where my life was going to go to next, which I will touch on. And the other photo is just me when I'm not at the pool, hanging out with friends. This was at a farm party in Narrogin with a bunch of friends. I'm at the front in the red jeans, so yeah, life is not all about swimming. There's a bit of fun on the side and also work. So as you can see, I've got some trusty crutches. I was born with a disability called arthrogryposis multiplex congenita. Given the organisations in the room, hopefully at least one of you guys have heard of it, if not a few more. It's a condition at birth. When I was born 30 years ago, maybe almost 31, it was very rare, and when I was born there wasn't a lot known about it, but as my parents took me over to England and did some research and learnt a bit more. So essentially my joints are very stiff, so my ankles, knees and hips have very little motion, flexibility, so as a result I cannot build muscle. My left arm is also quite restricted with its movement, so thankfully it doesn't impair me in the pool, but also that's the therapy to increase. And also my jaw, and the best form of therapy is talking, so it's wonderful for me because I like talking. So my poor family. The early years were challenging, to say the least. There was very little guidance that my parents were given. It was just sort of like, let's see how this process goes. I was the youngest of 4 kids, with the other 3 being triplets. So to say my household was a little bit busy is probably an understatement. So mum and dad already had a chaotic household, let alone a child with a severe disability that was not really given a lot of... the doctors didn't speak extremely highly of the longevity and my mobility and how I'm going to deal with day-to-day life. So the decision for my parents, this is sort of one of the main... probably a really, really life-defining moment that has facilitated lots of my life. So at an early age, my parents were told that I was never going to walk, so they should invest in a wheelchair because that makes the most sense. My mum, being very soft and wanting the best for me and make sure that I was in no pain whatsoever, was very much like, yes, we'll get her a wheelchair. My dad was the opposite and was like, hell no, she can figure it out on her own and get around. So the photo of me on the left is a piece of plywood from Bunnings with carpet on the top and 4 office chairs that my dad made to get around. So essentially it was a little skateboard. So that was my form of mode of transport. And when I got a bit bigger, it was then, we'll figure it out next. So that was, step 1. Step 2 was get her moving, get her active, get her doing things, because with my condition, if I stayed stagnant and still, everything would just cease. So Mum and Dad, this goes along with the no wheelchair theme, Mum and Dad decided to purchase a 3-storey house and put my bedroom on the top floor. So I got very strong at a very young age, but also it forced me to have to adapt, have to stand up, have to do things. So they also had a swimming pool so that I didn't have to go to and from Princess Margaret with triplets. It was a busy household, as I said, so if I could do it in the swimming pool, there was no heating. So winters were freezing, but I was allocated a sibling for every therapy session so that I wasn't alone. And then the third photo is of me doing the dishes. Not that exciting, but it goes to show my parents were not going to let me out of anything. It was whatever my brothers and sisters did, I had to do, and vice versa. So I would complain and say, oh, my legs hurt, it's all a bit too hard, and they would say, well, you'll have to do it later when they're not so sore. So I gift a lot of myself and who I am today to my parents because of they were presented opportunities to make my life a lot easier, and they could have said, yep, sign us up, that makes everyone's life, we've got a busy life, let's just do it, but they chose the harder route. That then set me up, as you can see with swimming, to then fulfil a life in the pool. So the next few years were obviously starting school, doing bits and pieces, and a major opportunity presented itself when I moved schools and I was looking to find some new friends. As a child with a disability in a new school, it was a big school, I didn't know anyone, I just wanted to have a friend, or maybe two. So I decided to go to the netball tryouts as a year four girl. That's how you make friends. I thought that's where I want to go. So I went to netball to the tryouts and I turned up and the coach said to me, do you play netball? And I knew I wasn't going to be a gifted netball player. But I said, no, but I know someone has to bring oranges at halftime. Let me bring the oranges. And they said, no, we'll find someone else for that. So I was told that netball was not for me. So that was the first time that, as I said, my parents told me I could do anything. That was the first time that was told I couldn't. So I was already swimming and I thought, right, I'm going to make this swimming thing a go. I want to win a ribbon at the swimming. I just wanted to win a ribbon at Swimming Carnival. Then that led to going down the path of competitive swimming. I started at the Superfin Swimming Club, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, which was just the greatest platform for me to commence a career in swimming, for the enjoyment, for the social aspects, to meet other people with disability that have similar challenges to me, similar age. We're all going through school together and feeling a little bit isolated, but making us as an inclusion solution together through that swimming club. That then propelled into moving into an able-bodied swimming club, which for me was daunting because my previous experience of able-bodied sport being netball was just too hard. So when the opportunity arose, my parents sort of said, we think this would be really good. You're excelling in the surroundings you're in now, try this. So went to the able-bodied swimming club, which was terrifying, but it was amazing. It was the best thing I could have ever done. They made so many provisions for me to be able to keep up, not feel like, oh, I just do what half of everyone else does. The expectation was I do what everybody else there does. My legs might not work, but I'm there. I'm doing what they're doing. The expectations for me to train as many times as everyone else was the same. To compete at the competitions was the same. To achieve the personal best was all the same. They fostered an environment that I was just everybody else. If I was naughty, I got told off. If I cheated in swimming, got told off. I didn't get an easy leave pass whatsoever. So then that really spurred me on to 2004. I decided to go along to the Olympic trials, and it was more just let's just go and have a bit of an experience so you're prepared for the next set in 2008. Get used to swimming in the same lane as Ian Thorpe, Grant Hackett, etc. Went along, day one, event one, heat one, lane one, lots of ones. I qualified for the Athens Paralympic Games as a 15-year-old for the 400 metres freestyle. I was the first person that booked a seat on the plane, which was totally not expected, but it happened. I didn't do as well as I had hoped. I got a bit too ahead of myself and kind of chilled out when the plane left Perth 3 weeks before Athens, before racing started. I thought I was on a holiday, so I was 15 years old. I was there for a good time with my friends. So the performance didn't go to plan. The next 4 years was hell, just everything I could give. I wanted to have redemption in Beijing. I just wanted to give it, regardless, medal or no medal, I wanted to go to Beijing knowing that when I stood on the blocks or in the water, I did absolutely everything that I could possibly do. So the next few years I was still with the same swimming club, and I was swimming in the same lane as Olympians, as other Paralympians, as national champions, as junior squad members. They facilitated everyone in the same environment, regardless if you're an Olympic champion down to a learn to swim. We were all the same, we were just swimmers. And it just made me feel like I was part of this team and I wasn't segregated because I was a Paralympian. As proud as I was, I wanted to just be a swimmer. So 2008 came alive, and I, as you saw in the previous first slide, everything came to life. I went into the 100 backstroke ranked 3rd in the world. In the heat, I by mistake, I wasn't meant to, but I broke the world record and qualified first for the final. My coach said no one remembers who wins a heat, it's who wins the final, which is true. But luckily for me, I don't know if you guys remember the water cube, the swimming pool, but it was like the funny shaped building. It was a glass building with lots of lines. I'm a backstroker who cannot swim in a straight line. So that for me was my worst nightmare because I followed the lines. Thankfully, lane 4 had a steel pole down the middle of it, so I just looked at this steel pole up and back. Then came, obviously, the final, and ta-da, I won the gold medal. 19 years old, everything I'd ever aspired to do, I'd done. Amazing. 19 years old, gold medal, OAM. Did I have much outside of the pool? Nope. So I'll go to... So after Beijing, I had an opportunity to move to Rome as a 19-year-old and live the glamorous life that is Europe, and I go and see the Vatican and the Colosseum and just like take a quick flight to Spain. I thought that was all going to make me feel a whole lot better. I was already on top of the world. It was the biggest reality I've ever had, in the fact that I realised that I had this amazing gold medal in my hand, but I had nothing else. I had never gone and created an opportunity for me except for what had been put in front of me. I'd been given all these opportunities, but I'd never actually said, hey, what else do I want to do with the rest of my life? I've got a whole lot more to do. So after 6 weeks of being in Rome, I was meant to be there for 1.5 years, I packed my bags and came home. Not forever, but to just establish who's Katrina outside of the pool, who am I without a gold medal, because right now I had no idea. So I then had to figure out who am I, what am I going to do. So as Denver mentioned, I completed a Bachelor of Commerce. I joined North Cottesloe Surf Club. I'm an active patrol member, so I do my patrols. I'm a patrol captain as well, so I've got my sort of, I guess you can call it, masters in radio, and I compete in surf lifesaving as well. And when I went to North Cottesloe to get it all facilitated around how am I going to complete my bronze medallion, how could I rescue someone in the ocean, how can I do 2K beach run, never figured that out. If anyone knows, you can come tell me, can't do it. But they were along with me for the journey. They didn't say, tick this box, do this. It was a conversation the whole way. It was, how can we make this work together? Not just like, this is what it is. It was, let's do this as an organisation and actually put pathways in place for future people who come to us, disability or no disability. Let's make it inclusive for everyone. So as you can see, what did it all equal? The first 5 were just swimming. That was me as a 19-year-old. Pretty cool, but not much more. And then the bottom 4 are all things that have happened since then and opportunities that I've gone out and sought and been fortunate enough as well. So, apologies for the terrible graphics with these. Amy sent me the Inclusion Solutions 9 pillars of inclusion, and They all rung true, but for me, 4 of them really stood out. So I've decided to focus on the 4, and I'm out of time, so I'll rush through them. Apologies, but I'll be around, so we can always talk after. Told you I like to talk. The first one being opportunity. Opportunity is key. Having them presented to you, also going after them yourself. Don't just expect the opportunity to arise. Make it sustainable. Make whatever opportunities that your organisation, your enterprise, your business is creating sustainable for future, regardless of ability or disability or gender or race or whatever. Make it a platform that people can adapt. Communication is key. Two-way communication. How can we help you? How can I give myself to you to be helped? How can we find common ground? Attitude says it all. Positive attitude goes a hell of a long way, and wanting to be a part of something. And this is my life now, lots more colourful than the swimming before. So very quickly, went back to Italy, swam with a club in Rome. We won the Italian Championships. Didn't really speak a word of Italian, but I can say I'm an Italian champion. Next one is a photo of me. I went on a solo trip to the Sahara Desert in Morocco, so slightly different. The third one is me. I have a huge love for American country music, and I went to a 3-day American country music festival in Midwest Wisconsin by myself this year. PwC, where I work, is amazing. I also have epilepsy, so that's another area of my life I have to manage. Surf lifesaving, parasledge hockey as well, which is the first time I've ever played a contact sport, definitely 30 years too late because it's far too much fun. Surf lifesaving. I do a lot of volunteering. Obviously I can't participate in a lot of the active events that I'd love to do, but the best way that I love to be a part is volunteering. I still get to feel a part of the event, get to be contributing, and then the bottom left photo is just how I start my morning every single morning down at the beach at North Cottesloe, having a coffee, having a chat. That's me in a nutshell. So I've certainly expanded myself, but through opportunities that have presented and by chasing them. Thank you very much.
So Katrina, when we first met each other, I think I knew I liked you for a number of reasons, but probably none more so than the fact that we're probably the only 2 American country music fans in this audience, so well done to you on that one. From wheeling around on a board to gold at Beijing, I think all because your parents and yourself challenged the systems in place, and I think that's critical to opportunity. We've got to keep thinking about the systems, we've got to keep challenging those. I love the quote that was on one of your slides there. A child is only as disabled as their environment and the beliefs of the people around them. What a great quote, and so fitting of that theme of opportunity as well. I think the other thing that I took out of it personally was that this story has 2 sides. One is Katrina's side and Katrina's family's side, to keep challenging and wanting more and wanting better. And I think the other side you articulated really well with Northcott and really them looking to find an opportunity for you as well and make the environment fit you. So ladies and gentlemen, let's thank Katrina, please, once again. Thank you. From one amazing human being to another, John Armstrong. John's going to be talking to us about one of the underpinning philosophies of our organisation, social role valorization. John is a teacher by trade, having started his career in Aboriginal communities in the Northern Territory. John trained as a teacher of the deaf, but eventually became more involved with children with intellectual disabilities and autism, addressing concerns of families seeking a life for their son and daughter in regular communities. In the early 80s, John found the guidance offered by social role valorization of tremendous value in both explaining the social issues confronted by persons of devalued nature, but also an opportunity and a clear and compelling and empirically based set of strategies to address those issues. John has taught SRV and evaluated and consulted with agencies across Australia, New Zealand, the United States, Canada and Ireland for almost 40 years. When asked why social inclusion matters, John's response was, holding roles alongside other people in a shared place of community is the principal context for thriving and flourishing. Such experiences allow everyone to showcase their assets and their gifts, contributing to the lives of fellow citizens through life-giving interactions and relationships that are wholly reciprocal. Please welcome John Armstrong.
Hi everyone, lovely to be here. So fantastic to see you tonight. Don't you love these guys and the work they're doing? I think I'll have to move to Perth. Really, it's just fantastic. And to hear Katrina is just illustrates so many of the things that I want to speak about very briefly with you tonight. You know, history has left us with many injustices to correct. Yet injustice can awaken our heart. Our soul burns with a yearning to set things right. But will such a yearning itself lead communities to embrace marginalised people without some strategy in mind? Will the demands for inclusion likely fall on deaf ears, already tired of the demands of this or that group? Is it only compliance we are after, or would we prefer an internalised commitment to a closer-knit community and society? To be welcomed and invited, embraced and missed creates a real sense of belonging. I think this is what we are trying to express when we speak of inclusion. If this is what we are after, what approaches would likely increase our chances that such experiences become a reality? How do we affect the attitudes of other people so that they become responsive to others with varied identities? Not because someone has scolded them, but because it is a natural reaction to the person they are meeting. John McKnight, a community development researcher and leader from Northwestern University in Chicago, once said that the community isn't interested in the problems people have, but in the assets they bring. After all, one would have to overcome the likely negative stereotypes and ignorances commonly held, as well as the long history of poor treatment by its excessive service systems. And I don't just mean in Western Australia and the last government, but the pattern of poor treatment that goes back centuries that can still underpin the reluctance to embrace different people. After all, the community has only just started to get to know people again after centuries of being locked away. One can still hear, aren't there special places and programs for people like this? Well, yes, there used to be exactly that. What could prevail upon observers who are formally snubbed someone as too devalued to be near to suddenly see them as someone worth knowing? It's the perception of status that makes the difference. Notice that. Not power or being empowered, but how valuable you are perceived by other people. Clearly, not all powerful people are valued, as we see in Donald Trump every day, whereas completely powerless babies are held with inestimable value as parents willingly support their every need. The status or value we perceive people holding influences our response to them in ways that are virtually automatic. There are some people who see or try to see everyone as intrinsically valuable, as children of God perhaps, and strive to treat everyone with dignity and respect. Most of us are less perfect than that and treat other people by what we imagine we see in them, a kind of internal script based on our upbringing and experiences, our own identity, our cultural messages and stereotypes, and even by how much pressure we are under from our social and physical environment. As Rudyard Kipling said, even saints turn into sinners when they miss their customary dinners. In other words, in spite of our claims for acceptance, we all possess the human capacity to reject others for any number of discomforting reasons. We look at people through these lenses, rapidly assessing their worth, and in ways that are hard to change. We approach or avoid accordingly. If status is the key, how can we utilise this to support our goal for marginalised and devalued people to become part of a wider, vibrant community? Status is communicated a number of ways, but the strongest, most compelling means is through the roles a person holds. Roles are so powerful that they largely define who we are, what we do, and whom we act, even what we wear. as we saw in Katrina's story with us, all the different ways that she presented herself. Wolfensberger here was summarising key findings from social science. Roles profoundly influence how we see ourselves, but also how others see us, including the status we're perceived to hold. All this occurs without formal training or the need to educate people about how this works. Responding to each other's roles is a natural human process. We just know how to do it. In fact, the more roles we have, and the more valued are those roles, the more willing others become to extend to us many very good things. Things we willingly and voluntarily give to people we value. Things like friendship and love and growth and learning, responsibility, esteemed image and reputation, good health, financial well-being, the invitation to contribute, and many other things besides. These good things in life bring us meaning and purpose. Valued roles bring many benefits to the role incumbent, but they also bring a changed perception to those who observe a person in a valued role. Roles transform how we see each other and therefore how we act as a natural antidote against any tendency we have to reject or defame or abuse each other, because now we see the person in a valued, not devalued way. Valued roles also permit participation with others. They define the nature of that engagement, perhaps as a player or a swimmer with a coach. Without roles, people will be mere observers that observe from afar, yet another trip in a white bus to observe others having a life. When we see someone with a disability without valued roles, we see their disability. In fact, we tend to enlarge and magnify the significance of the disability to the point where the real person and all their human qualities can be totally lost. Services to people have tended to accentuate this, for instance, by placing large numbers of people together to dissuade others to become involved, or to conduct programs in ways that are foreign to any cultural practice, that diminishes the sense that the people with disabilities have anything in common with the rest of us. It's easier to ignore and neglect people we can't identify with. When a person holds a role that is valued by society, it transforms all of that. A valued role is an antidote to being devalued. The more valued the role, the stronger the antidote. When Dylan Alcott won the inaugural quad wheelchair singles final at Wimbledon, held earlier this year, he said, "When people used to see him, they only saw the wheelchair. But now when they see him, they see Dylan, the tennis champion, with no wheelchair." Not everyone can be Dylan Alcott or Katrina, but it still makes the point. A valued role changes the way we see and treat a person. It also defines the assets and their gifts that they bring to the community, not their problem. Everybody gets to win. I was interested in what Denver had to say about how isolated and friendless and alone so many people are these days. Materialism and the narcissistic self-interest of individualism threatens the well-being of relationships and community, which rely on obligation and commitment. Yet many yearn for the opportunity of connection, vulnerability, and intimacy. Perhaps this yearning has opened a huge opportunity for people from all walks of life to join together through their common interests and passions. Now is the time to harness that yearning through the power of valued roles. So lovely to be here. Hope to meet many of you as the night progresses. Thank you very much.
Going back a handful of years, as a 14-year-old, when you asked me who my hero was, I would have said Curtly Ambrose, the great West Indian cricketer. A couple of years later, as a 21-ish-year-old now, when you ask me who my hero is, it's people like John Armstrong. People that have dedicated their lives to the improvement of others. And I think SRV and the whole notion of occupying valued roles in community is not just about people with disability. It's about all people. When we think about that in our lives, we think about the valued roles we occupy, whether it be a neighbour, whether it be a friend, a support, a manager, whatever it is, a father, a mother. They're central to the social value that we have. So John, I really appreciated all your sentiments there, so thank you for sharing that. Now, on to something a little bit different. When most people walk in the room, I tend to notice shoes. I'm not sure about you guys. I'm going to take a minute just to ask you guys whether you'd notice the shoes on the table around you. What I'd like is for you guys in your little groups to nominate the person with the wildest shoes. So if you bear with me there, hopefully you've come up with a winner there, and I can see from Dr. Anne Ali, sometimes the wildest shoes might not be any shoes. So the task for those of you that are lucky enough to have the wildest shoes tonight is to please join the rest of our team in gathering a platter for your table. Before you leave, everyone else, your task, should you feel comfortable to do so, is, as Christy asked you earlier, is maybe find a new group of friends to share the next conversation with. So once again, those of you with the wildest shoes, go and grab a platter from the back for your table, and when you come back, there'll be a new set of friends there. All right, so you should have some new friends and some funky shoes at your table. I'd like to introduce our next third guest, Margie Oldfield. Margie's the founder of Team Connect, and Margie's going to discuss opportunity and the power of sport. So a little bit about Margie. Margie's a passionate advocate for community sporting clubs accurately reflecting the community in which they exist. In 2017, Margie was awarded the Cricket Australia National Volunteer of the Year for her work in increasing the number of girls playing cricket at Wembley. Margie has been president at Wembley District's Junior Cricket Club for 2 years, and during that time has been focused on the club becoming more socially inclusive. In the last 12 months, the number of teams at the club has gone from 38 to a massive 51. Margie identified a need to support adolescent girls to play community sport and has addressed that need with the establishment last year of Team Connect. Team Connect is an innovative program that supports young girls from traditionally low participation groups to join cricket clubs and play as valued members of their local community. Earlier this year, Team Connect won Cricket Australia's National Initiative of the Year award. When asked why social inclusion matters, Margie responded with, "Social inclusion matters to me because we're still talking about it. One day, social inclusion will not even be a topic. What gives us the right to exclude someone from their own community? Feeling like you have a place in your own community should never feel like a privilege." Please join me in welcoming Margie Oldfield.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here this evening. Before I start, I'm just going to show a brief video that will just give you a little idea of what Team Connect really is, and then I'll talk to you about the program.
Really the reason that I started up Team Connect was a realisation that community club sport wasn't actually available to all kids, and wanted to create teams that gave all kids an opportunity to be part of a team. Kids at the beginning were a group of kids who really weren't sure what they were doing here, and they are completely cemented as a team.
Like, there's so many benefits for kids for joining cricket clubs. It's that sense of belonging. You've got to rely on your teammates and they rely on you. You get that sense of personal achievement from cricket with the runs and the wickets, but also you contribute that to your team, and you've got to sort of be there for them every week. It's that sense of belonging is fantastic.
It was kind of exciting to join it because it was something new I can do with my friends. Normally I don't go out the house a lot, so it was something brand new to do.
When I first heard about it, joining the team, I felt really happy and excited because it's actually my first time playing out of school.
Yeah, you get to learn how to play more as a team and communicate, and it's really fun.
I was really excited because I never played actual sports before.
So that was really just a little window into the Team Connect program, and I was really fortunate to have one of the brothers, an older brother of one of the girls in that team, come to me and ask whether he could put that video together. So that was actually another little addition to the story, to have one of the brothers make that for us. Before I talk too much about the program, I really want to explain very briefly how it came about. And I've been involved in team sport my whole life. As a kid, it was just a given at home. Everybody played team sport. And then having our own kids, it was a given that they all played team sport. If any of our kids wanted to do an individual sport, the deal was, yes, but you also have to choose a team sport. So an individual sport was never really going to cut it for us. And then as an adult, I've been involved, and I've then been involved as a volunteer at Wembley for many years. And through all of that, I've seen the benefit and felt the benefit of being part of a team. Not necessarily at being great at sport, but at just being part of a team. And for me, when it really started to filter through and become such a realisation that we offer these opportunities only to the families that have the capacity to take up the offer, I realised that we leave so many young people at a social disadvantage from a really young age simply because they don't have the capacity. So Team Connect aims to address that. It's really simple. See that need and then look at a way to address that. And cricket in Team Connect is the tool for that. And in my mind, there are no other sports that would work for this. Cricket has got some really unique characteristics. It's a really lovely social sport. Everybody participates. It doesn't matter if you're not the fastest on the field, and it doesn't matter if you can't hit the furthest. So cricket is a fantastic tool for a program like Team Connect. Team Connect is a very simple concept. Basically, schools select kids that they think need to be supported in the community. So in my mind, it's almost not even a program, it's just a thought. But basically the way it works is that I select the schools, and I do put a fair bit of thought into which schools I think would benefit. I then approach the school speaking only to the Student Services Department. So I don't even tell the phys ed department that I'm going into the schools. They have nothing to do with it. The Student Services Department select girls that they think, two things, that they think would benefit, and they also that they think would otherwise not have the capacity to play a team sport. I then approach the club, ask them if they would be happy to be working with Team Connect, working with the club and working with the community to support those girls. So basically it's just a really simple triangle of the school, the club and the community. Team Connect is in that community, but I'm not the community. It's the school, it's the club and it's the community that the school and the club reside in. So the first season was a resounding success, and that was, as Denver was saying, was last season. And I love the fact that as a community, it is really easy to make such positive change in the lives of young people simply by offering them opportunities and then supporting them to take up those opportunities. This program is all about connection and community. This is Ascot Eagles Junior Cricket Club embracing the Team Connect girls last season, and the really lovely thing about this photo is you can't tell which are the Team Connect girls. You should never be able to tell which are the Team Connect girls. No one ever needs to know who in a club are the girls that are needing some extra support. The fact that they're all wearing the same uniform, the club uniform, that's all part of the program. So it's really important that the message to the girls is that you're actually just another member of the club. You're not a Team Connect player, you're not a school player, you're just another member of the club. For me, this is what connection to community looks like. This is what team sport looks like. And if in the first year of high school we can create really positive connections for the girls, we have the capacity to keep them at school for their whole schooling. Kids that truant and disengage are behind from day one. So an image like this, which might not look like sport to everybody, is actually a really important aspect of sport. And if you manage sport well and you manage these kind of images well, this community well, you can improve really simple things like kids' attendance at school. And interestingly, the head of student services at Thornley Senior High School last year, he ran some stats on the girls that were in the Team Connect cricket team, and their attendance at school increased throughout the season, which is a fantastic result. So team sport is not just about skills and movement. It's not about whether you can run and hit fast. It's about the social benefits. And for me, a child playing a team sport, it's really almost irrelevant if they can run fast and hit a ball. It's what are they gaining socially out of being in that team. So Team Connect is not a program about sport in schools. It's not about increasing the number of girls playing cricket. These are add-ons. They're great add-ons. No issues with them being add-ons, but they are not the purpose of the program. There are a myriad of programs that get sport into schools. This is not what Team Connect is. This is a program about connecting adolescent girls positively to their school and positively to their community using the amazing benefits of sport, but cricket in particularly. So this is what we should want for all of our kids. And for a lot of us in the audience, this is what we have known for ourselves, it's what we've known for our own children, and it's what we've seen on every oval, on every corner, every weekend. And these girls aren't playing at the moment, but they are still being part of the team, they're being part of the community. And team sport is all about belonging. It's belonging to the team, belonging to the club, even the drive to the game, you're all in the car together, that is all part of team sport. The ultimate aim for Team Connect is that sustainability. It's that the girls choose to come back to their club the following year as independent club members. So as I said, this is not a sporting program. This isn't a year of fun sport. This is actually trying to give those girls the idea that for the rest of your life, you can be a really valued member of your local club. The Team Connect supports grade 7 girls. That first year of high school is vital in setting the path for the rest of their schooling years. So grade 7, that transition from primary school to high school can be incredibly challenging for adolescents. So getting girls in that first year of school to feel really positively connected to school and community is really important. Belmont City College was the first school that came on board. And to be perfectly honest, I actually had no idea about the cultural diversity at Belmont until I got more involved with them. The team had girls from 9 different cultural backgrounds, from Togo, the Congo, Sierra Leone, Bosnia, Sudan, Indonesia, Vietnam, Togo, and Australia. And I think you'd be hard pushed to find any other team in Perth that reflects that kind of cultural diversity. And if you select based on need, not based on targets, then you never know who you will capture. So it's really important not to have another agenda. It's really important not to have targets based on parameters from some other area. It's about looking at each individual and selecting each child based on the needs of that child. Interestingly, from this group of girls, 6 have returned this season to play as independent members of their local junior cricket club, which is really rewarding. 1 has returned as a volunteer. She contacted me and asked if she could come back as, in her words, as a good role model and mentor for the new Year 7 girls. And there is another girl that has returned not to play, not to volunteer, but to just be there, which again is really interesting. That's her choice. She's asked if she can come back and just be there, and of course she can. So that's lovely to see them coming back. The group of girls that have come back contacted me at the start of the season. And interestingly, these are the girls that have contacted me, not their parents. The girls have contacted me and said, we want to keep playing, we want to play at the club, we don't know how to register, we don't know how to get a uniform, we don't know where the registration form is and how we would fill it in, we don't know that we can afford to play, but we want to play, so what do we do? And it was really easy. I could say to them, you're members of the local club, I'll just put you in touch, meet you down at the club will support you. And once they realised that, it actually took all the pressure off them because they realised that they were actually being supported by the local club, and we could say to them, you're club members, you're not Team Connect members, it's not school, your club will support you. And those girls are now playing in the Ascot Eagles Junior Cricket Club under 15 team. The girls are from the Congo, Togo, South Africa, Sierra Leone and Sudan. Between them, they have challenges such as no car, no computer, no English at home, no family history of structured sport, and financial challenges. It is unlikely that they were ever going to find their way to the local junior cricket club without some support. These girls walk and catch the bus to training. They walk and catch the bus to home games. The club has arranged for people to pick them up to get them to their away games, and the club is now supporting them throughout the whole season. This team actually wouldn't exist if it wasn't for these kids, so these kids have now been able to be told if it wasn't for you, there would be no under 15 team. So it's a really lovely result for these girls. So Team Connect is all about offering opportunities that are available to others. And then once you've offered those opportunities, supporting the girls to take up those opportunities. No one benefits when our young people are disengaged from school or community, not the individual and not the community. On an individual level or on a society level, social isolation can be devastating. Kids who don't finish school and don't engage in their community are less employable. If they're less employable, they're going to find it harder to get housing. If they can't get housing, they're going to find it even harder to get a job, and the cycle will continue. So for all of us, if we can keep kids at school and keep them really positively engaged in the community, we all benefit. And it is on all of us to work towards all of our young people being active members of a society to which they know they belong. So my role at Team Connect is to look at the hurdles, look at the barriers, and then just remove them. So one of the things I do when I first meet the girls and go into the school is sit down with them, have a chat about what it means to be part of a team, and then say to them, so what do you think? Is this something you want to do? Are there any areas you think might be a bit of a hurdle? And almost invariably the girls say, I'd love to do this, but it's not for me. And when I sort of ask a few more questions, they said, there's no way I can ever get to the game. I know that I won't be able to get to the game, so I don't want to be in the team because I'm going to let people down, and because I know that I won't get there. And what I can say to them, that's really simple. Now that I know, we'll put on a bus. So this is actually the Thornley Junior Cricket team turning up to a game. The teacher there is Head of Student Services at Thornley Senior High School, so every morning, game day, he's at the school at 7:30 with the school bus. Picks up all the kids, any parents or grandparents or aunties or uncles that are coming along for the day, takes them all to the game, coaches them for the morning, drops them all back home again. So every single hurdle that the kids come up with, it's easy. I'm going to just say to them, once you tell us what it is, what your hurdle is, then your job is done. You need to tell us, and then it's on the adults to remove those barriers. This season we have 5 schools on board: Butler College, Thornley Senior High School, Kelmscott Senior High School, Belmont City College and Dianella Secondary College. This is an image of an extraordinary Year 7 teacher at Butler College, Joel, and after school every Wednesday he gets the kit, meets the girls on the oval with a smile, coaches them before he goes home to his own family. At the game, 7:15 every Saturday morning, he is their coach, he's their mentor, he's their guidance, and he's their support. He contacts every family every week to remind them of the commitment. He asks them if they can get to the game. He asks them if they need transport. He takes morning tea. But he is also head of Year 7 in a school that has one of the highest rates of student suspensions of any school in Perth. His weeks are full and his days are stressful, but this is where he sees value. So this program very much is about the people. It's about surrounding the program with good people and surrounding the program with good people that have no other agenda. There's no image here for good reason. The girls in this program have challenges that potentially lead to all sorts of social difficulties. Some of the girls in the program come from environments where there is unemployment, violence restraining orders, DCP contact, living with grandparents, caring for younger siblings. English isn't spoken at home, there's drug and alcohol addiction, domestic violence, social stigma for a wide range of reasons, no car, new migrants, and all of the cultural challenges that come from being a new migrant. It might be that the child's being bullied, it might be that the family is just doing it tough. The staff at the schools are the strength of this program because the staff at the schools select the girls based on the individual need of every child at that time. And there has been occasions during the season when one of the staff will ring me to say, there's a girl who is not on the team, can we get her in? She needs something right now. So for me, the admiration that I have for those school staff is just phenomenal, to think that they know those girls and they select exactly who they think needs something at that time. So this slide is blank because we don't need to know who those girls are and we don't need to know why they've been selected. Dianella Secondary College team, it plays with the Coolbinia West Perth Junior Cricket Club, and this is the girls in their uniforms on their first day. Half the adults in this photo are school staff. The parents, they came to the game that morning and they were so excited to see their girls playing sport. One of the dads came up to me and he said to me that he played sport as a child every weekend. It was part of his upbringing, and he had been absolutely devastated that through a variety of reasons it's not something he was unable to offer his own children. So he stood on the boundary that day and I just almost couldn't take my eyes off him. He could not take his eyes off his daughter in her cricket uniform playing cricket in a team. And he came to me at the end and he said, I didn't ever think that I was going to be able to offer her that. So that again, looking at that, that's half of those adults are the school staff who they see the value in it and they know that if they put it in on the weekend that they will reap rewards during the week. The fact that the girls are in their uniforms is really important. Those uniforms were presented to them by the club president and we try really hard to make sure that all the girls get presented with their uniforms. It's a really special event. We explain to them you are now a member of your local club, and for some of these girls they have never ever been given a uniform other than a school uniform. This is head of Year 7 at Dianella Secondary College, an Irish woman who knew nothing about cricket and is now coach of the cricket team. She absolutely knew nothing about cricket, but knew everything about the importance of belonging. So when I approached the school and I spoke to her, the first thing she said was, I am the coach, that's me, I know what you're talking about, I can be that person. And then she said, does it matter if I don't know anything about cricket? I went, absolutely not. It just doesn't matter. That is down the list of things that are important. Her girls have now asked her, instead of training once a week, if she would mind running 2 training sessions a week. So they like to train on a Wednesday afternoon and on a Friday afternoon, and then they want her to be there on a Saturday morning. To her credit, she said yes. So she trains twice a week, takes them to the game once a week. And on a Saturday morning when she's at the game, coaching and supporting these girls, her own son is playing at another oval in Perth and she's with these girls. So again, it is about the people, good people with no other agenda. This is the only cricket photo I'm showing. One small piece of proof that the girls do actually play cricket. But these girls are doing so much more than learning to bat and bowl. And I have taken a lot of photos and I could have put 50 photos up here of kids batting and bowling, and it's not what it's about. Cricket offers so much more than whether you can bat and bowl. And as I said, this program would not work with any other sport. The reason this role is so easy is because of girls like this. And as a volunteer, when I'm with other people's children, I am not with my own. And that's not always easy to reconcile, but I'm sure that everyone in this room knows what that feels like. When you give of your time to someone, there is always someone else missing out. And for a lot of volunteers, that's your own family. So it's really important to maximise your volunteering resource, make sure that you're doing the best that you can in the time that you have, and again, surround yourself with good people. The wrong people can undo a lot of good work. All programs come about because someone identifies a need for it. I identified that need, then realised that if I had thought it, scarily, it was up to me to do it. And that's actually something that takes a little while to sink in when you have an idea and you think, oh, that's quite a good idea. Wonder who'll do that? And then you realise that you're the person. So there will be no better person than you to follow up your own ideas. There are no specific people out there ready to take on the roles that you dream up. You are that person. And to be honest, that's actually really exciting when you realise that, because it gives you the sense of freedom to just go with it. So if you have an idea, I recommend you go with it. There is no better time to go with a really good idea, and there is no better person for the job than you. So all good programs start with one single thought. And I advise all of you, if you have that thought, don't wait for a better time. I had very little in place when I started this program. I had an idea, lots of passion, and I had a really strong belief in my idea. I knew that I would not that I wouldn't let anyone hijack the plan for any other purpose, and I felt a little bit possessive over it for that reason. I didn't tell phys ed staff, as I said, for that exact reason. I didn't want anybody selecting sporty kids, and I did occasionally have people say they thought they knew someone who might be good for the program because they won the 100 metres at the athletic carnival. And I went, no, we don't need them. I also approached it one day at a time, one hurdle of my own at a time. Grants, constitutions, compliance, public liability, they all seemed like insurmountable hurdles for someone like me, who I am very honest, I hate everything to do with admin. I hate it, and I feel like I'm swimming through mud when I have to deal with it. So I just kept my eye on the target, and I dealt with one hurdle at a time. I was honest with people about what I could and could not achieve, and I asked for help only when I needed it. And most of all, as I said, and it is probably my strongest message, I only surround myself and the program with good people. That's my choice. If I think someone has another agenda, they're simply not welcome. So I never really planned to be in this position. I never planned to run a not-for-profit. I'm certainly not someone on paper who has any of the right skills. It just happened. But I now know, without doubt, that I am the right person for this job. And I'm the right person because I am the person doing it. That's what makes us the right person for the job. If I had waited for all the stars to align before I embarked, it never would have happened. So I just went for it, not having any idea how it would go. And I would recommend it. There is no right time and there is no best plan. You are the best person to develop a program that you see a need for. So I would say trust yourself, always, to be doing the right thing. This season, we've got about 75 girls, 15 school staff, 5 schools, 5 councils, and next year is already being planned. So I would say in closing, every program, every idea starts with a tiny little seed that sometimes comes to you in the middle of the night. And if that seed comes to you, I would recommend that you take it and you grow it, because it is extremely rewarding for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margie. Margie, what I love about Team Connect is that it came down to that one person, Margie Oldfield, with one idea to change the community. You've created opportunities not just for tens of people, but hundreds, if not possibly thousands of people. You've taken assets, 3 very basic assets that exist in most communities, if not all communities: schools, clubs, and people. You've connected them to each other. John mentioned earlier a huge proponent of asset-based development, John McKnight. You've seen a gap and you've addressed that gap, and I really love that. And I remember when we first met, you said, look, I'm a person, I've got an idea, I think I can make a difference, and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I think what you did with that was you kept it simple, developed a framework, you've changed communities, you've changed lives, and I guess ultimately, as SRV dictates, you've given people the opportunity to change their lives through one vehicle, and that is sport. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Margie. The fourth and final speaker for tonight is Dr. Anne Ali. Dr. Anne is going to be talking about the importance of inclusion and community to combat terrorism. Dr. Anne is also the Labor federal member for Cowan, elected in 2016. Anne's background is as a professor, academic and practitioner in the fields of counter-terrorism and counter-radicalisation. Anne is the founder of Australia's first non-government organisation to combat violent extremism, People Against Violent Extremism, or PAVE. Anne's contributions to national and international security have been recognised internationally. In 2015, Anne was the only Australian civil citizen to be a representative and to be invited to speak at President Obama's White House summit on counter-terrorism. In 2011, Anne was inducted into the WA Women's Hall of Fame. In 2014, Anne was named as one of Australia's 100 most influential women by Westpac and Financial Review. In 2016, Anne was awarded the InStyle Women of Style Award. I didn't know that about you. In 2016, it must have been a busy year, this one, and was also nominated for Australian of the Year and received the prestigious Australian Security Medal. Please welcome Dr. Anne Ali.
Thank you, Denver, and thank you everyone for this afternoon. Can I start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'm a little bit embarrassed because I've noticed that everyone is talking about sport. If you come into my house and you go into the first room, it's a room full of trophies. Trophies line all of the walls in the house. And there's a huge number 11 jersey there. They all belong to my husband, who's a Canadian and who was a professional ice hockey player. But in the middle of all of those trophies, one trophy stands. It has pride of place. It's about that big, and that's my trophy, and that was for debating. So I learnt very early on in life that I was always going to be picked last for sport, but first if somebody wanted to win an argument. So I'm going to tell you a story. Unfortunately, well, it is kind of my story, but I want to tell you the story about this bloke, Sean O'Callaghan. So, as Denver mentioned, before I got distracted by a political career, I was actually what I call a pracademic in the field of counter-terrorism and counter-radicalisation. And as part of my research, I travelled around the world meeting what I call formers, people who had joined radical, violent extremist groups and then left for whatever reason. And I think this was around 2014, might have been 2015, I was travelling in the UK and I wanted to meet this bloke. Sean O'Callaghan, at a very young age, late teenage years, joined the IRA during the Troubles in Ireland. He became one of their most senior operatives. And then one day he walks into a British police station and hands himself in and confesses to his part in the murder of a British police officer by the IRA. He's given 537 years in prison for all of his involvement in the IRA. He appeals. They reduce it to 437 years. Goes on a hunger strike, continues to appeal. 8 years later, he's given a Queen's pardon. Reason is that in the final years, in the last decade or so of his involvement in the IRA, Sean O'Callaghan actually became an undercover informant. And through his work with MI5 and the Garda, he stopped an assassination attempt on Charles and Diana. He was responsible for the interception of a large shipment of arms at Dover Port from Libya. So when all of this came out, they said to him, "You can't stay here. So we've arranged for you. You're going to go and live in California, where everyone else goes. And we're going to give you facial reconstruction surgery and you are going to have a new identity." And he said, "No, I'm staying here. I'm staying here, I'm staying in London." They said, "But you'll be killed. The IRA won't let you live." He said, "I'm staying." Not only did he stay, he wrote a book, a New York Times bestseller called The Informer. Not only did he stay and write a book that became the New York Times bestseller, the front of the book and the back of the book has his photo right there. So when I went to London, I was in London and I said, "I want to meet Sean O'Callaghan." Everybody said, "Impossible. It's too dangerous. You can't meet Sean. He's got a price on his head. He has to change his phone every 3 days. You cannot meet Sean." I said, "Just give me 15 minutes with Sean." So we met in a public space where he was known for meeting people, and I could tell that there were people around watching. We sat down, or he sat down, and I walked up to him and I said, "Sean." And he looked at me and he said, "You're an academic." And I went, "Yep." And he said, "I suppose you want to know why I joined the IRA and why I left the IRA." And I said, "Nope, I can read all about that." So he kind of looked at me very strangely and he said, "So why are you here?" And I said to him, Sean, I want to know why you do what you do now. Because since his release from prison, Sean had been working with young, violent offenders, getting them off the streets, getting them out of gangs, and getting them onto a productive path. I ended up spending 5 hours with Sean that day. 5 hours with Sean. Sadly, he passed away in 2017. And we talked about a lot of stuff. Yeah, just sitting there at the stage door in Soho, drinking coffee, sharing our life stories and talking. And he looked at me and he says, you know, Anne, life is just a series of negotiations, isn't it? Life is just a series of negotiations. It's so beautifully simple, but so frighteningly complex. So for 5 hours, Sean and I sat down and talked about how do we get young people who are headed down a dangerous pathway, whether it's drugs or gangs or violent extremism and terrorism. How do we get them to turn their lives around? What do we do? And Sean's explanation was very simple. He said to me, it's not rocket science. Life is just a series of negotiations. You wake up every morning and you decide, am I going to get out of bed today? Am I going to go out and rob somebody? Or am I going to do something positive? He said, it's just about giving people choices and the opportunity for those negotiations that we all take for granted every day. What am I going to wear? What shoes am I going to wear? Am I going to take my shoes off or keep them on? They started out really comfortable, but yeah. The negotiations that make up a life, and they can be really mundane negotiations, really mundane choices that we have to make. Like, oh my God, what am I going to cook for dinner tonight? Or really huge choices, like, am I going to take up this offer to run for the Parliament in 2016 and give up everything that I've built as a career as an academic? But the important thing is that we have choices, that we make choices. And this is where I want to come back to the theme of opportunity and the role that opportunity plays in the work that I did, the work that Sean did, in early intervention in ensuring that young people who are headed down that pathway are given opportunities to make positive choices and head down a different pathway, a positive pathway. So, opportunity gives you choices to go down positive pathways. That was the philosophy that I adopted when I started my not-for-profit organisation called PAVE. PAVE was born on an aeroplane, like a lot of the stuff that I do, because I travel a lot, and so aeroplanes, once you've watched all the movies that are on the screen, you kind of sit there twiddling your thumbs and doing nothing, so you come up with harebrained schemes. So PAVE was born on an aeroplane, and I wanted to set up something that was going to help young people make positive choices, give them opportunities to make positive choices, get them involved in something positive, something constructive. My purpose with PAVE, before I started PAVE in 2013, I actually did a lot of homework. I actually travelled a lot and talked to a lot of people who had set up not-for-profits before. I rang Deloitte and asked them to give me a team pro bono to do some mapping work. They did. They gave me a team of 5 people for 6 months to develop a strategic plan for me. I never got afraid. I never backed down or was never afraid to ask for something, to the point now that, like, when I started to ring people, they were going, oh my God, what do you want now? But Deloitte gave me a team for 6 months. We launched in 2013, at the end of 2013, but every person who I met who had started an NGO said it'd take you 5 years. It'll take you 5 years to build up your capacity, build up your capability. I didn't have 5 years, I wanted 3 years. 3 years is what I wanted, because I wanted to use those 3 years, a very definitive time frame, to get as many young people as I could involved in the projects and the programs, and then send them on their way to develop their own organisations. And so I just wanted to use PAVE as a launching pad for a whole lot of young people to go forth and pay it forward, I guess, and give more choices to more young people, and have this kind of network of young people giving each other choices and positive pathways. So December 2013, we launched. By 2015, we had all our programs set up. We got the biggest grant by the US Department of State outside of the US that they've ever given to a not-for-profit. In the space of 3 years, we'd raised something like $3 million. I'd got to hire some of the young people who started out as just volunteers for my organisation. We had a social media presence, we had social media campaigns, and we were running hackathons and My Hacks, which were mini hackathons, where young people would come, they'd share their ideas for positive change, and they would present their ideas in a hackathon style type event. So these are just some examples of what we did. The My Hack there is a group of young people who did Perth's first hackathon, where they had to come up with some ideas for addressing online hate and violent extremism online. The hub was where we brought together all of the young people who participated in hackathons and gave them and equipped them with the capacity to go forth and then start up their own organisations and their own programs. The Hackabout was the big one that we did in Sydney. That's our social media. That was our social media campaign. Violent extremism has many faces. Don't make yours one. The handsome fellow on that side is my son. The other one's a professional actor. 52 Jamal was an app that I got 10 young people. I'll tell you this story real quick because I've got enough time. I got this phone call from a friend of mine in Washington who was an advisor to Obama in counterterrorism, and he's like, "Hey Anne, a friend of mine in California asked me if I knew anyone who was crazy in Australia, and I thought of you." And I'm like, "I don't know that that's a compliment, you know, Quentin, but whatever. Can I give him your number?" I'm like, "Sure." 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from Tony's Grow from California. "Hey Anne, Quentin tells me you're crazy." I'm like, again with the crazy, I don't know that this thing I'm liking this crazy business. But anyway, Tony was doing a program where he was getting groups of young people from around the world to come up with social media solutions to online hatred and violent extremism, and it was a worldwide competition. And he said, "Can you get together 10 students from the university to do this program?" Now, I was a professor and I didn't teach, so I didn't know any students. But I said, "Yeah, sure," because, hello, yes, they were both right, I am crazy. So I found 10 young people who came from very disadvantaged backgrounds. 2 of the young men that joined the team, one of them, his brother was in jail. So they were all dealing with different issues around drug addiction, within the family, jail, etc. And they were all heading down this dark path. But I got these young people together. We worked over the semester on this project, and they won. So there's me running through the airport with 10 young people going, "Put your phones away, we're going to miss the aeroplane." We ended up in Washington. They presented at the White House in Washington. They came second. They were all given a 3-week trip around the US with a $700 Visa card, prepaid Visa card, and direct access to Google if they ever wanted to work there, if they ever wanted to get a job there when they graduated from university. And they went on to do some really great things. One of the young men I mentored now works in Geneva, and he met the Queen. I didn't even meet the Queen. He got to meet the Queen. So just some of the things that we did with PAVE. In my last 4 minutes, I just want to go through, and this is what I want to leave you with these 3 principles. And these 3 principles, I think, are really important questions. I've been thinking a lot lately about why the hell I became a politician, and how can I make it count? You know, how can I make it count? Is my job just to keep the seat of Cowan and attack the other side, or is there more to what I do? And how can I, when I eventually walk away from politics, how can I ensure that my legacy isn't just that I wore nice clothes in Parliament and posted it on Instagram every Tuesday? So I've been thinking a lot about this, and I've been thinking about three things that I think make a better society. Make a better organisation, make a better community, make a better society. Anything that you want to apply this to, I think you can apply it to. It's the idea of social cohesion. And it's about looking at it through 3 different lenses, through social mobility, social capital, and social trust. And I think that in everything that we do, we should be asking ourselves these questions, right? In every program that we have, in every policy that we make as politicians, and for me as a representative of the community, this amalgamation of people called Cowan, these are the questions that I want to ask about what I'm doing as their representative. And the first one is social mobility. Am I providing people with opportunities? In everything I do every single day, am I providing people with opportunities? Am I giving them the capacity for political, for social, and for economic participation? Do people feel that they can contribute something to this country, to their community, to their society, to their club, whether it's their sporting club, to their workplace? Social mobility. Social capital. In everything that I do, in every policy that I make, in every policy that I contribute to, am I providing people with a sense of belonging? Am I helping people to feel belonging? Am I helping them to feel valued in their community, in their society, in their country? And social trust. In everything that I do, in every policy that I make, every time I stand up in Parliament, every person that I meet, am I building trust? Do the people that I represent trust each other? Do they trust their neighbours? Do they trust everyone else in their community? Do they trust their politicians? Probably not. Do they trust the media? Do they trust their schools? Do they trust their institutions? And I think, I started putting this together because I was I was applying it to, I'm the chair of a committee that's rethinking multicultural. Well, I wanted to rethink multiculturalism and diversity and how we deal with those things. So I started applying it to that and kind of redefining how we put together policies and how we cast a lens over policies that we do within the party. And I ended up thinking, you know what, this is like not just about that highfalutin, high-level political stuff. This can apply to anything. This can apply to a sporting club, it can apply to a program. And I started thinking about the work that I did with PAVE and the young people in PAVE, and this is what I was doing with them. This is the kind of stuff, these are the kinds of questions that I would have been asking myself in everything that I did with those young people. Was I giving them opportunities? Was I giving them a sense of belonging, and were they feeling valued? And did they trust? Was I building trust between them and between me and them? Now my time's almost up, but just in finishing, there it is. I'm just going to go through one more thing, and this was the kind of a thematic framework that I use to frame a lot of my explanations and the way that I approach terrorism, violent extremism, negative pathways, right? Negative pathways towards violence or towards other destructive behaviours, whether they be drugs or gang behaviour. It's pretty natural that somebody earlier said that we gravitate towards the people who are similar to us. But there are three really destructive themes that, in the case of the research that I did, which was terrorist organisations, but it can also be other forms of destructive organisations. Destructive themes that they use, destructive organisations use to influence young people and bring them in. And they are the theme of survival or preservation. We need to survive. The theme of victimhood, we're under attack. The theme of blaming the other, it's their fault. And the theme of justification of beliefs, therefore it's okay to kill them. Right? We're under attack, it's their fault, and so it's okay for us to defend ourselves by killing them. But why that really works, why those themes really work, I'm watching a show at the moment called Why We Hate. It's a very fascinating show I think it's on the Discovery Channel. But why that theme works is because of intergroup relations and emotions, right? Intergroup relations is in-group favouritism. We tend to like our group, and out-group derogation. The us and them. The us and them. We are better than them. And they are the result. They are the reason for all our problems. They are the reason for all our issues. We saw it with Holocaust propaganda, for example. Any kind of genocide propaganda, this is how they use it. But the third one is the emotions, anger, contempt and disgust, what I call ANCODI. This is the cockroach theory. I call it the cockroach theory. Okay, think of a cockroach. I know it's icky, but just for a minute. Think of a cockroach, okay? You don't squish the cockroach because you're angry at it. You don't. And you don't squish the cockroach because you feel some kind of contempt towards it. You squish it because you're disgusted. You squish it because you're disgusted by it. Disgust is the key ingredient in pushing people towards violence because it dehumanises the other. And that is why in Nazi propaganda, in any form of genocidal propaganda, they referred to the others as cockroaches, as vermin that needed to be eradicated. Okay. So I wanted to present that to you because that was kind of the framework that I used when I worked with young people, understanding how negative influences can work. Understanding that intergroup relations are really, really important. They're important for positive influences, but, terrorists and people who would want to do young people harm and lead them down a rabbit hole of violent extremism get it. They know that intergroup and that feeling of belonging, that sense of belonging is really, really important. So, to finish off, I'm just going to go back very quickly to my dear Sean, who gave me that little bit of wisdom about life being just a series of negotiations that I've carried with me all of these years and will carry with me to the grave as one of the most profound things I've ever heard in my life from a man who went through so much in his life. And I think in bringing this all together, the point that I want to make is when it comes to opportunity, I think it's the one thing that we know for sure, is the lifeline out of a dark pathway for many young people who, for reasons beyond their own control, when they feel like they have no choice, when they feel like they have no options, when they feel like there's no negotiations for them, will head down that pathway. So I hope that that's given you a little bit of something to think about this afternoon, and I just want to thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anne. I love that quote, life is a series of negotiations. And when you think about everything that we go through, each of those negotiations either open the door or close the door. It's really powerful. And I really love that politicians in this day and age are thinking about social mobility, social capital, and social trust. Not all, I understand. But it's great that you are, and great that you're a Western Australian and doing it for our community as well. Connection and belonging, I think, were the two things that I really took away from it and have taken away from a lot of our previous conversations. It's really around finding opportunity so that we can promote that social connection and social belonging. In the words of John Armstrong, that the SRV is really around opening up those opportunities for people so that they can improve their lives. I think the other thing for me from your whole presentation and the person that you are is that you're real. And I guess a little bit outside this sector, outside this forum, Paul and I were lucky enough to be at Parliament House a couple of weeks ago. And to display how real Anne was, she said, "Oh, you've got 15 minutes before your meeting, just come and hang out and come and sit on our couch." And so Paul and I took up the opportunity. We thought, we'll go and hang out, and we were lucky enough to get serenaded by the one and only Dr. Anne Ali, so thank you.
It sounded like it was something good.
We'll just pretend. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank Dr. Anne Ali. So just a bit of a run through of what we've gone through today. So Christy, the Wheat Belt's finest product, went through and set the scene for opportunity. She spoke about how important it was and how opportunity has really impacted her life. And the following speakers, Katrina, spoke about that, challenging the systems, going from a board from Bunnings to winning a gold medal at Beijing. I love that story, and I really love that you've taken that throughout your life and kept that as one of your mottos. John took us through social role valorization and finding out what people care about and really helping them to do one simple thing, and that's obtain a valued role in their community through something that they care about. Margie spoke about, and I love that quote, "There is no better person to enact an idea than you." And when Margie came and sat with us for the first time a few years ago, I knew Margie was going to do something great, and I'm really glad to have seen that journey, to witness it from the sidelines and to be a small part of that. So thank you for that. I really love that, Margie. And finally, obviously with Anne and talking about opportunities and it giving you the choice to go down a positive path. And I think one of the central things relating that back to Margie is that some people in our communities are probably not on that positive path yet, but together we all have the opportunity to open that door for them. So a little bit about the forums. This is our last forum for the year. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the impact of those forums. One particular story came out of the May Forum. There's a gentleman in this room called David Taylor. Dave, would you just stand up for me if you don't mind, mate? So Dave and I have shared the cricket field together, and Dave, you can sit down. He gets very shy. So Dave in April this year was diagnosed with a brain tumour. Pretty serious stuff. Dave came along to the first forum that we had this year in May, and all of a sudden I got a text message when I got home at 10 o'clock that night, and Dave said, "We've got to meet for a coffee tomorrow." And we did. 11 o'clock, Perfect Peach Cafe. We met, and that coffee probably was meant to be 45 minutes, went for 3 hours or so. And Dave said, "Look, I love the notion of impact. And the whole presentation of collective impact has struck a chord with me." And in the situation that Dave was in, facing an unknown around his brain surgery, he said, "Look, I've got 10 people in my life that I'd like to get together and try and find a way to make collective impact." And he said, "I've got no idea what I'm doing. I don't know where to host it, but I just wanted to talk this out." And I said, "Well, I've got no idea what I'm doing or you're doing, but I can help you host it somewhere." So we hosted it at work the following Wednesday, and Dave got 10 of his people together, 10 of his best people. And out of that was born a community group called All for One. Now, to give some context to this, Inclusion Solutions at that time, we'd been operating for about 3 years, and we had about 950 likes on Facebook. Within 2 days of opening up Facebook to All for One, these guys achieved over 1,200. They've gone to 22 or 2,300 likes in a short space of time. But the whole notion of this group is that it started with 10 people to make collective impact. They've already completed 6 or 7 projects, improving the lives of other people who are less fortunate, who need that door opened. So that's one. Dave, thank you for all your work. The second story is a lady right at the back of the room, a kindred spirit, Joan Foley. Joan, would you stand up? So Joan was also one of our speakers at the forum in May. And Joan spoke passionately about the fact that regional communities in WA don't have the same access to services and good quality supports for people living with a disability. Through that forum, Joan made contacts, and all of a sudden, the people of Headland, the people that Joan probably cares the most about anywhere in the world, now have an organisation to support them based on their needs and their wants, not based on organisational stipulations. So Joan, thank you very much. And I think that... And the third such subject, the lady is not here today, Pippa Gowden. Is anyone here from the city of Mandurah? Yes, you are, a couple of you. So this story really came about from the July forum. So we had a gentleman by the name of Paul Holliday from the Human Excellence Project. Paul came and spoke about making exactly what Margie did. He had one idea and he was one person. They get together, they meditate, they go for a swim and they have a coffee each morning. Doesn't sound like a difficult thing to do. This one group has contributed to over 35,000 hours of human connection in 1 year alone. And perhaps greater than that, it's improved and offered an opportunity to another community in Mandurah to start up a project. The Mandurah Swim Rise started last week. The city of Mandurah, and in particular Pippa, are really supportive of this project. So another great example, and I think also worthy of a congratulations there. So there's 3 tiny stories that have come out of these forums this year in 2019. On your tables, you'll find a postcard. There's one per person, and what we'd like you to do is take 1 minute or 2 minutes to think about one commitment that you guys would like to make, one great idea that you have of how you can improve your community. If you scribble it down and just leave it on the table, we'll come along and pick it up later on and we'll post it back to you in a couple of weeks as well, a couple of months. We'll give you 2 months. And the lucky number is F32, red F32. Have we got a winner? Beautiful. Excellent. False start. So red F32. There we go. You're probably wondering what was going on there, weren't you? Excellent. What I might do as well, I might take this opportunity to thank Georgie and the team at Beyond Bank. You guys have absolutely been brilliant to support this project and partner with us through the year. I think, Georgie, from our point of view, we've really valued all our interactions, we've valued the catch-ups, and I think above anything else, we love how much you care about WA communities. So please join please join me in thanking Georgie as well and Beyond Bank. On that note, and on collective impact, we are looking for a sponsor for next year. If you, in the room, you have a business, you might be part of an organisation, you might be an individual that is looking to sponsor this particular forum next year, we'd love to hear from you. A few special thanks, firstly to you lot, to all of you. Every individual that's here tonight, you're valued, and we really appreciate your time tonight. To the team at Bendat Community Centre, make no mistake, this is a fantastic venue and they're excellent to deal with. Beyond Bank, once again, our partners and our previous partners in National Disability Services, NDS. Emma, our photographer. I think Emma really deserves a round of applause with the Social Inclusion Matters sign. So G and Trae from Marcello Productions at the back. Our array of volunteers, Georgina, James, Emma, Nicole, and a number of others. Thank you very much. The board. I know we have a couple of board members here today. Brendan Cullinan, you around somewhere? There you are, BC, thank you. And please pass on our best to the whole board as well. Lastly, our team. So Paul Flay, Adam Nankin, Christy Jolly, Jehu Dagahoy, Kiri Penta, Kira Cooney, Tom Hewson, Grace Mills, Jennifer Irvine, Rachel Dillon. Please put your hands together to the team at Inclusion Solutions. And finally, one particular person who's put this entire event together and has done for the entire year. Amy Perry, I might ask you to stand up, please. Amy has gone absolutely above and beyond and probably had many sleepless nights in the lead up to each forum and beyond. So Amy, thank you very much from all of us. Just a couple of reminders before we get into some networking as well. Social media posts, so the tag at Inclusion Solutions WA on our Facebook, and Emma's got the sign there if you wouldn't mind. That would be great. We'd love to hear your feedback. How can we do better? That's one thing that we're really big on at Inclusion Solutions. We'll send out a survey tomorrow, so you'll be able to fill that in online. And just one other thing, a couple of reminders. Our organisation, after many, many months, have launched a new website. It is live as of this afternoon, so if you look up Inclusion Solutions, it'll direct you to our new website. So to all of you that have made that possible, including, and in particular, Paul Flay, thank you for that. We've got 2 launches next week for those of you living east of the city in the Kalamunda region. The Wayfarer project, innovative project reshaping how communities think about ageing, is being launched on Wednesday next week in Kalamunda, and the exact same project down in Mandurah on the Thursday as well. As a reminder, these forums, we've picked out 3 dates for next year, for 2020. The 6th of May, Wednesday the 6th of May, Wednesday the 5th of August, and Wednesday the 4th of November. I'd like to also just wrap up by thanking the audience, all of you guys once again, and Beyond Bank. So maybe one more round of applause to all of you guys. And I'd just like to finish by providing you with one quote, which when I read it gave me a lot of food for thought. From a very, very wise human being in Mr. Warren Buffett. Someone's sitting under the shade today because someone else planted a tree a long time ago. And I think that adequately reflects the theme of today's forum, which is opportunity. Thank you very much. Stick around for a drink, a bite to eat, and look forward to networking.